Hi, Yoav. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really appreciate it. So today I just wanted to get to know a little bit more about Guide and about your story. I know you guys are doing some really, really great things in the video AI space. So could you give me a little bit more information about your background, what led you to start Guide, and your story in general?
Cool. So, first of all, I started my career as an engineer around 15 years ago. My expertise, not surprisingly, were AI and video. And that's also how I met Dan, my co-founder. He's based in SF, and basically he co-founded a different company back in 2010, and I joined him as one of the first employees, and that's how we met. Later on, I was working in different startups, doing different product marketing and product management roles, and basically Dan and I took a concept that I used to do a lot as a VP product. My team used to create a lot of short form videos, and we would use it and embed them throughout the sales cycle, in the trial period, throughout the onboarding, support tickets, new feature announcement. It was really effective. Like only around 20-25% of the users were actually watching the videos, but they had 60% higher conversion rate from free to paid. So it was really effective, but creating those videos based on the marketing and brand guidelines, making sure marketing reviews the script, making sure the narration and the voiceover is done professionally, and someone have the editing skills to do it in a kind of studio marketing grade production. It was a lot of tedious work. Took 2-3 weeks to generate a single video, and then a few weeks later the product changes and you need to do it from scratch. So basically, Dan and I said there must be a better way of doing it with AI, and that's how we started. And today, the gist of Guide, or the concept of Guide, is within 2 seconds you can create a video that explains any workflow, any feature, any integration, any process, and we'll do all the heavy lifting for you. We'll create a script, we'll create the visual, we'll embed the brand guidelines, we'll translate it to any language you need, we'll provide you the hosting, the analytics, the editing capabilities, and it's really like simple and anyone can use it. If you can take a screenshot or edit a PowerPoint, you basically can use Guide.
That's amazing. And obviously, Guide is pretty large now, over 100,000 different users, over 2 million, like 2,000 customers. Did you ever think it was going to be this big when you guys first started?
So that's a great question. You never start if you don't dream big. Yeah, but there's a lot of challenges throughout the way, and usually people only hear about the happy ending or the the good stories. There's a lot of frictions and a lot of uh, failure points on the way, and part of it is really to be able to move fast, react, measure the data, interview the users, and improve it on the go. Uh, what I think is in many cases people are heavily thinking about the product itself or the technology, and not about the go-to-market or the end user. And I think what Dan and I, when we launched the product back in November 22, we imagined how big it could be, but I think the way together requires a lot of iteration, a lot of uh, long days, long hours, a great engineering team, a great sales and marketing team, and I think it's an ongoing effort. You never reach a point that it just works. You always need to keep improving, especially with the advancement of AI. You need to embrace the changes. There's like the agents and the operators and the MCP and all the stuff we hear about as a startup. The fact you can move fast and adjust and adapt give you a leverage versus all the giants in the market.
Yeah, of course. And was there one defining moment you felt where you guys went from just an idea, a concept, into this successful machine that you guys are now running?
For sure. I think in our case, the data basically tells the story. In the first 6 months, the growth was very small and kind of plateau. And then around April 23, we launched a new product, a new feature, I would say. Today it's the product. We called it Guide AI. We did a product hunt launch, and within 2 days, it kind of exploded.
Wow.
Basically, we took a lot of the capabilities we had and fused AI into it. Back then, it was the early days of OpenAI and ChatGPT. It was very early on. It wasn't as common as today that everyone are using it. and suddenly you didn't need to write the script. We did it for you, and you didn't need to do the branding or the visual. We did it for you. So basically, the same exact capabilities, but now AI is the engine. We called it back then Guide AI. Is it like we launched a big feature? Today it's deep core product. It's not a feature. And then you saw that within a few days, we grew from 50 signups a day to more than 1,000 of signups a day. Every user created 4x more videos every day. Every video had at least 5x more views. So it kind of grew and grew over time. And then it was just about like fueling the marketing machine and bringing more of the same.
That's amazing. And why do you think you guys chose video? Like, what made you realize that video is the key to solving challenges that are existing right now in operations?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's a question I've been asked a lot. I think probably video is the closest thing to a human interaction which you can actually scale, right? Ideally, I would jump on a Zoom call with every prospect, every user when he starts a trial and give him a walkthrough, answer questions, and make it interactive. What all the tools or the tool set we have today, it's either primarily text, right? You read stuff, or product tools like a click-through process. Nothing there is not it's not interactive. It doesn't give you like any context. It's not engaging. And we said let's try to mimic as close as possible to a human interaction, and video is the right medium. And you see it on the B2C side, right? Consumer side, you have YouTube, you have TikTok. If you want to learn how to tie a tie, you rather watch a video, right? If you want to know how to build a puzzle or whatever you want to do, watching a video when it's something visual, it's easier to understand, to consume, and then apply it yourself. And we wanted to do the same because we felt like videos in the B2B space is not really used. And we took a lot of concepts from TikTok and Netflix to the B2B space.
That's a great point. And out of the customers that you have currently or throughout the trajectory of your guys' career, have any customers used Guide in a moment that really inspired you or shocked you guys?
Yeah, so I think my motto is that the customers are always smarter than we are. A lot of the one of some of the best feature we have in the product were based on stuff that we mimic stuff that users were doing, but it wasn't trivial or it had a lot of like human intervention in the process. One of the example we saw a lot of our users are taking screenshots from a PDF or from a PowerPoint and then uploading it to Guide. So we said, let's create a flow that turns PDF or PowerPoint to an interactive video in a second. And
Oh,
then we
wow.
saw that they do it at scale, like they take a G Drive folder, upload one PDF, then the other, then the next, and then they end up doing it for hundreds or thousands of PDF. We said, let's do a batch upload. You give me a folder, every new PDF, every new PowerPoint will automatically be a video, and then you want it in 20 different languages, we'll do it for you. So that's like just one example. Then we saw customer success folks doing remote QBR because people don't want to join a Zoom session. Sometimes only one or two of the users are joining the Zoom session, but you want everyone to get exposure. So they started doing remote QBRs. And then we saw finance team explaining stuff on Excel and starting to send purchase order with a video explaining the terms. So we saw more and more use cases that some of them we never imagined. And I think part of it is you base a lot of your decision based on the data, but a lot of the, I would say, the real story around it is you need to interview users. Like the data doesn't tell the entire story. So a mix of quantitative data and quality, which is basically interviewing users, I think gives you the best perspective of the product and where you want to head the vision and the roadmap to.
That's amazing. And I feel like a user testimonial or user experience is really important for you guys knowing where to go, what to release. Is there anything up and coming in terms of features or something that you guys are working on that you can talk about?
For sure. So I think like there's every 2 weeks we basically introduce or launch new features, but some of them have bigger impact than the others. I think personalization becomes a very big key for us. So we're now working a lot about custom avatar, creating a Jacob virtual avatar with your face and your voice cloning, because if you send it to a customer, you want him to hear your voice because they know you as a customer success or as maybe customer support. So like the personalization aspect is a big thing for us. Second one is recycling of existing content, turning Zoom or Teams recordings, webinars, PDF, PowerPoint, KB articles, Looms, Good tickets, whatever you have. I want to create a video for you with zero editing and zero work. So basically being able within 10 minutes of using Guide, getting a lot of value, and the time to value becomes pretty instant. And the third part, which is also, I think, interesting, is what we call custom LLM. We're building custom LLM models for our enterprise accounts, which basically learn the tone of voice, how each customer writes their new feature announcement, writes their support KB articles, and the way Monday do a new feature announcements versus how, I don't know, Checkpoint does it is totally different, right? So learning the tone of voice, whether to use music, make it more textual, the template, the structure, and then it's really like tailor-made to how your company and you specifically in your role wants to create those videos, and it's not a generic vanilla LLM anymore.
That's amazing. And is that something that came from a customer need, or is that just something from the data?
So I think it's a mix, but first and foremost, customers need. What we saw is we saw that ideally I would want to create a video with AI and share it. And we started to see what makes people edit the content, and we saw it's a lot of adjusting the same thing in the wording, in the tone of voice, in the terminology, in the structure. And again, with AI, you can automate that. And we understood that the real value is if we can take the company tribal knowledge, right, and make it and turn it into context to the AI machine, you feed it, and then it's like a specific video creation tool that was actually planned and designed for your own specific needs. If you're a SaaS company or a retail company, you don't create the same type of material. If you're a cyber company versus a fintech company, you have different ways of terms. If you're working in the APAC market versus the Latin American market, so like all those like different differentiation makes the output better as soon as we use the context and what we call the knowledge or the organizational memory and feed it to the AI machine.
Okay. And actually, this morning on that topic, I saw your LinkedIn post regarding the rapid change of AI. And I mean, working in the industry myself, I can see how insane a lot of these features are coming out with AI operators and AI agents. Do you think that lately it's been really hard to keep up, or do you think for all builders and all creators, it's really important to innovate? And how are you guys currently doing that?
Cool. So I think there's the pace of the market and the investments is tremendous, and it's really hard
Yeah.
to keep track. I think what's important is always to understand your goal or the KPIs. Let's say uh, you're a marketer and you want to optimize your Google Ads or Meta Ads campaigns, or I'm an SEO expert and I want to create content for SEO purposes, or if I'm a support rep and I want to reduce the support load. So I think first of all is always frame the objective based on a business need, and AI is just a way to achieve that in a more productive and a more efficient way. So I think always based on your role, focus on 2, 3 agendas that you want to optimize. Then, if using an agent or an operator can get you there, that's great. If you want to build it yourself or use a off-the-shelf third-party solution, that's also great. You need to understand the differences and the benefits of each one. For example, in many cases, an LLM workflow is as good as an agent, and it really depends on the use case. Sometimes you do need an agent if the logic is more complex, but sometimes an LLM workflow like NA10 or Make or Zapier is more than enough. So it really depends on, first of all, your needs, your KPIs, and how mature the technology is. When we tested the agent 2 months ago, it was very error prone. even a simple form that you need to fill in your username, email, and address, it didn't always fill it correctly without context. Today it's much more mature. It has around 89 accuracy rate, and it only get better and better. So I think from our perspective as a SaaS vendor is always know what's coming, test the market, understand the limitation of the technology and where you can actually put it into place. And then once it's mature enough, actually use it. Because if you publish an agent-based product and it makes mistakes in 7 out of 10 processes, then it's useless, right? So people are kind of will lose confidence in the technology. So you need to make sure it's also tested enough, mature enough, and the UX part is 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 trivial enough for the user to understand if it does make mistakes, which is like part of getting kind of the confidence level that you want in an AI self kind of workflow.
That's amazing. That's some great advice. I was wondering if you were comfortable discussing a little bit about your Series A funding in February. Just wanted to know if that was a big change for you guys, really, where the what difference that made and what changes and goals you worked towards after you were done that series. It seemed like it was very successful. Can you
Yeah,
talk a
so
little
I
bit
think
more about it?
yeah, so I think part of of the new funding is to fuel the machine, like just to go
Of
faster.
course.
Um, we have our core product, which is Guide Create, which is basically using AI to create content, which we talked about, and I know you tried it yourself. We
Yeah.
also launched a new product called Guide Broadcast just back in February using the new funds. Basically, you can think of it as a Netflix recommendation engine within your application. So it's this small TV you embed in your Salesforce. It could be a CRM, an ERP, a BI tool. It could be an SDK inside your own product. And based on we basically label the content, segment the application, and segment the users, and we'll show the user the relevant content for him. Exactly like Netflix does, right? You sit at home, you watch a Netflix episode, and it will recommend based on your age, your demographics, content you watched before. So same concept, like if you're a user in Snowflake, if you're using Snowflake on AWS or GCP or Azure, you don't expect the same content. If you're a DevOps engineer and LLM engineer, a Python engineer, you don't expect the same content. And if you connected Snowflake uh, with with a BI tool versus connected Snowflake with ETL tool, you don't expect the same content. So the concept is based on who you are, what you're trying to achieve, and based on the content to surface the relevant content for you to achieve your goal. And that was part of the drivers for the funding, really the new product. And on top of that, we have our own initiative with agents. Currently, it's in an alpha phase. We're always using it internally to make sure it works for us, for our team. Once it does, we usually share it with 5 to 10 alpha customers, and only then we're starting to gradually roll out. So there's a lot of stuff you can use agent today to automate the creation and the update of content. That's something that I think we're in a great position to introduce to the market, and it's just a matter of mileage and the maturity of the technology with more testing on our side.
That's amazing. And I guess on the one of my last questions for you, I just wanted to know for the next generation of builders, is there some advice that you might give someone building an AI tool for any businesses today?
For sure. I think one of the first questions you'll get asked by any investors and anyone that is doing a due diligence is like with AI, anyone can build it. What's your tech mode? Like why, if it works, anyone can do it, and then there's no like competitive edge. So I think it goes back to what we talked before with the agenda and the jobs to be done. First of all, when you build any AI based product, think about like the jobs to be done, how human would do it, and how you using AI can do it 10x, 100x better and more productive. So I think always have one mission in mind. Second of all, go as deep as you can. Don't go vertical agnostic because then the foundation models will do it better than you. It's just a matter of time. But go deep and make it more specific. For example, I just saw a product which is like a ChatGPT like for legal teams, right? Reviewing and commenting on NDAs and contracts and agreements and DPA. It was trained on top of 2 years of agreements by hundreds of different legal firms, so it will naturally be much better than a generic purpose LLM. And the opposite of it is the AI SDR market. Like there's like hundreds of vendors, there's no differentiations, everyone are doing basically the same. And that's why it's all about like pricing, and probably some of the larger vendor will just offer it for free and will kill the competition. So I think just go deep and make sure you have a competitive edge in terms of the use case, the data, something that will make it harder for others to compete. And as the technology evolves, you're not at risk, but you can actually leverage the new technology to provide a better experience to your end users.
Amazing. That's some great advice. Thank you, Yoav. And I thought we could just end off a little today on some really quick rapid fire questions. For example, what's one tool that you're using every day you can't live without?
So I think there's a bunch of those, and it probably changes every few weeks now. But I think one that I use on a daily basis is Claude. Since
Cloud,
they
okay.
introduced since they introduced project, we build different project for a different domain. The key in the project is again the tribal knowledge or the memory. If it's like I can feed them all the internal sources, could be content like company sources from Slack, G Drive, Gong recordings and stuff like that, and then I can use it as a chief of staff. Like I feel like I have my own personal chief of staff. I can ask questions about what users are complaining when they talk to our support team. What's the number one feature that sales are being asked for? It will help us increase revenue and feed it to the product team. You can ask questions about the CRM and the data. So like feeding all the sources to a cloud project and making it really accessible to question, as opposed to being buried by dashboards and reports that are hard to consume, not highly customized, not very flexible. So I think that's something that every manager, VP, and every employee now should use for his own day-to-day job.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind as well, Claude. And then I guess our last little rapid fire here. Throughout the process of building Guide, throughout the success that you guys have had, what's a daily habit that's kept you on track this entire time? That one that is really important to your day to day?
Yeah, I think that's again a great question, because today it's really easy to get lost in the thread of we have Slacks and WhatsApp and emails and LinkedIn pop-ups and tons of stuff jumping from everywhere. And part of it is to keep your focus. And as part of it, I have a daily morning habit with the coffee. I always actually write down two things on the company level and one thing on the personal level I want to achieve today. That is kind of my compass for today, and make sure that within all the noise and all the meetings and all the Slack channels, I always make sure those three are first priority, and make sure I'm doing those before I'm going to anything else, and kind of keeping focus throughout the noise. I think it helps you a lot to be organized and like just two, three things you want to achieve today. R&D teams are doing it as part of the sprint planning. I think any job, marketing team, product team, sales team could benefit from using the same practice.
I think I could benefit as well. Can you give me an idea or just an example of a personal goal that maybe once in a while you write down?
Yeah, for example, a personal goal could be from something personal, like even uh, leave work like leave work at the afternoon and go out with the kids, or talk with two employees I didn't talk for the last 60 days, like a one-on-one
That's
talk on a
amazing.
coffee. And that's more on a personal note. On a company level, I think it's obvious, right? Some business goals, something could be customer process, something in handover between CS or sales, something about improving the way we access the data. So there's a lot of like initiative on your day to day.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add? General sentiments before we wrap up today.
I think just for the audience that hear us, feel free to go to our website, www.guide.com. We have a free version, 25 videos. Test it out. Give us feedback. We love to hear what works, what doesn't, and we love to improve it. and the more users and the more feedback, the better we are. So just give it a try.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yoav.